Hello there and welcome back to my YouTube channel. James here as ever for today's important ACCA Audit and Assurance video if you've got the FA exam. Now in today's video or lecture, whatever you want to make of it, I'm going to walk and talk you through all of the key concepts that you need to be aware of, how to best prepare you for the examination, along with some exam tips at the end of this video that are definitely going to help you out, so make sure you stay to the end. If this is the first time you've ever clicked on one of my videos, hello, my name is James, and on my channel I dedicate all of my videos to my loyal subscribers. And as ever, I've put on the screen right now, Acca, thank you so much for your comment, my friend, and you've asked for a detailed video. Well, this is going to walk and talk you through, as I said, absolutely everything you need to know for your audit and assurance exam. If you are an ACCA student, I upload videos for all the exams, so if that's of interest to you, be sure to subscribe and hit that button below. Along with, like Acca, let me know how you get on with your exam, leave me any comments of videos you'd like me to do, and I'd really appreciate it if you gave the video a massive like and thumbs up. As ever, thank you so much for the support to the channel, because it's these videos that help people get the marks, to get them over the line and the pass they are looking for. But without any further ado, let's get cracking now onto the actual syllabus for the Audit and Assurance F8 exam. So if you haven't already, make sure you get down these 6 key areas, A to F on the screen, because these are the syllabus areas you need to be aware of, and you should be taking notes as you're going through your actual tuition, go out and revision, and then onto that exam practice. These are the fundamentals you need to be aware of. So having a look on the screen, as you can see, the first key one is audit framework and regulation, where the first thing you've got to be aware of there is all about the actual concepts of audit, external audit, corporate governance, and the ACCA Code of Ethics. So along with that, you've got to get down integrity, confidentiality, professional competence and due care, professional behaviour on there, and confidentiality. All key aspects that you need to be referring to within your examination. Now, we've also talked about the concepts of audit and external auditors. Understanding the process from start to finish is definitely going to be within that section and will come up in your exam in one way or another. Because then, by understanding how an audit works, you've then got to go on to the planning and risk assessment that you can see on the screen for part B. And this is all about for audit engagements, obtaining, accepting, and actually continuing an audit as you go through that. Once you've finished it, leaving the client for another year. And that then links into a massive key area to get down about audit risk, the principles behind that, how we actually go through the actual process, the individuals involved. Understanding the entity will be on your exam in one way or another, linking that into potential fraud, laws, regulations where compliance is going to be needed, and then that is going to be linked into the actual planning stage, along with any documents that are needed for this actual audit that you're dealt with. So you're going to be given an audit at a particular stage, maybe it's at the start, finish, and you've then got to make a judgment on that based on the scenario. Please don't expect in your exam that it's just going to be a fantastic audit, all going well. No, because that is where it's going to lead on to section C that you can see on the screen, all about internal control. And the first key word to get down there is all about the systems that the organisation has in place that you'll be given in the scenario in your exam. This is where you need to use and evaluate the actual auditors, what process has actually been going on so far, the test of controls, what is actually in place within the organisation, what reliance can we put on their actual systems and the information, and the difference between an internal auditor and an external auditor is another key area that links into internal control, how they work together, how they mash into one as to, maybe we just have an external auditor, no internal, you could use that as a recommendation. And actually the scope of an actual internal audit function, well, how much can we actually rely upon them? Then you've got to think about the skills, competency, all these things that you could find within the scenario. That then nicely leads us on to another key area, which is all about the audit evidence on there. And then these are some of the key words that should be the buzzword, shall I say, you've got to be asking yourself in the exam to come onto it in your questions. And to say, right, what are the assertions that we're making, the actual type of evidence, the audit procedures in order to actually get to the evidence on there, the sampling, And finally, the actual testing on there. What sort of level of samples? What's maybe the turnover of the organisation, the total of assets? Do we have any specific items, maybe assets or liabilities? Are there any automated areas? And how much reliance can we actually be placed on the work? Because we may also have a not-for-profit organisation factored into it as well, along with the sort of usual PLCs and limited companies. Coming on to part E then, at the bottom, review and reporting. So now we've got to be thinking about subsequent events. So is this going to affect us from something that's happened after the year end? Is the business still a going concern? Is another key area? Written representations from the management, how much reliance can we be placed on that? And the final audit review on there, along with any internal auditor's report, as to say again, what reliance can be placed on it and what opinion are we going to be giving on the audit. Finally, syllabus area F now, and this links into employability and technology skills, or linking into actually, if I was an auditor, how would it be actually put into place? And this is all about, with the CBE platform, the effective use of technology. What relevant information are we picking up on in the scenario, as if you're actually in a real audit situation? Then that would link on to the actual responses that you'd be giving in actually a sort of corporate working environment. And then finally, presenting that data and information effectively in what you'd actually present in the examination. And that gives you a rough overview of the syllabus with some key areas. So if you haven't already, make sure you've got those jotted down. Because it now links on to the actual CBE format, where you're going to be given two different sections, A and B, as you can see on the screen, where section A is 30 marks and section B is 70 marks. You're going to be given 3 case-based questions. Each of them has 5 objective test questions for 2 marks each in section A. And for section B, this is where you can have 3 scenarios, and this is comprised of a 30-mark question and 2 20-mark questions. In my opinion, personally, section A is the easiest, and also section B is highly a time management area. We'll come on to this later on with the actual exam technique as well, and tips to help you pass. Now, coming on to the actual format of your computer-based examination, you've got 3 hours in the examination, so 180 minutes for 100 marks. So on average, you've got to have about 1.8 minutes per mark. Beforehand, you're going to have 10 minutes of reading time just to go through the instructions, but you won't be able to look at any of the questions associated there. So as a rough guide, you've got 54 minutes for section A and about 126 minutes for section B. Now, it's up to you on there. Some people do 1.5 minutes per mark, 1.6, and leave themselves some time at the end. It's completely up to you. Most students, as I said, find section B the hardest, so maybe take some of those minutes away from A, allocate them to B, and make sure you answer 100 marks in that actual exam, because the pass mark, and this is really key for you to get down, especially if this may be your first ACCA exam, is that you need 50 marks out of the 100 to actually pass the exam. However, not to be confused by the average pass rate, which is at 40% and has even actually been lower than that, which in a nutshell means that for every 10 ACCA students that go into an audit and assurance exam, only 4 pass it. So that is why on this video I made sure that we've actually put in some exam techniques that could get you into that 40% that will pass this, because a little thing to get down, especially if this is the first video you've watched on audit and assurance, the CBE practice platform, getting effective in how you actually operate it, and using past papers, in my opinion, are the fundamental areas to passing this exam. Now, for some exam tips on here, and I thought, right, what can I get down that could be the difference in just getting those final few marks to get students over the line? And first of all areas of the syllabus can be tested on here. So just to be aware that you can't question spot. If you are completely new to audit and assurance, you've never worked in it before, or maybe you've had some exemptions from university and this is your first exam, have a look back at the actual F3 and F7 papers, so financial reporting, financial accounting. Those study materials will help you refresh before you get stuck into the actual audit and assurance examination. Also, technical articles on there, external examiners reports, pop these down on your to-do list going away from this video, because again, if you've never worked in audit before, this is where you really need to know the process from start to finish. That was one of the things that I found really tricky when I did this exam. We've touched on the actual code of ethics on there, so you've got integrity, objectivity, professional competence and due care, professional behaviour and confidentiality. You've got to apply these in the examination to the scenario. You see on there, learn and apply, put apply in capital letters. That is critical for you. Next thing we have, again, fully understand the requirement. This is from the External Examiner's Report for Audit and Assurance as to why students fail it so often. They fail to actually apply back to the scenario and take their audit knowledge and relay it back to the marker. So exam technique is imperative on here, and that is where we touched about it in the syllabus with audit risk, ethics, internal controls. The massive exam technique for audit and assurance for you to get written down is identifying the scenario, what the issue is, explain to the marker what's going on, and then finally recommend what is the best practice moving forward. And that, in essence, for that identify, explain and recommend is 2 marks. And how students fail this exam is they only really identify and they don't explain enough detail, which is a maximum of 1 out of 2, which again, you might only get a half mark, which is unfortunately a fail overall. Understanding the audit process and opinions on there. So this is where for your notes you could either have a qualified opinion, an adverse opinion, or a disclaimer of opinion on there, your 3 options. And then the key words to get down in your notes, if you haven't checked out the other videos on my channel, be sure to, because it breaks down the actual material and pervasive or not. Also from the financial statements, are they misstated, yes or no? And then have we obtained sufficient appropriate evidence, yes or no? I'll be sure to do more audit videos on this, so if you'd like them, leave me a comment below. More than happy to help, just like Acca, as we talked about at the start. And finally, for my 7th point on here for section B, predominantly examining 1 or more aspects of audit assurance from the planning and risk assessment, so we talked about that in the syllabus at the start, internal control and audit evidence. So have a look at those different syllabus areas, A to F, pick them out because that is section B and that is going to be the hardest part of your exam. Well, thank you very much for watching today. I hope you've enjoyed the video. As you can see on the screen, I've put on an actual recommended and also next video for you to check out. They're going to be linked to the audit exam. I'd highly recommend them. It could be the difference in getting you past your exam. And like I said, leave me a comment below, subscribe so you get access to all the free materials. And thank you as ever, leave a massive like on the video. I really, really appreciate it because that could be the difference in you getting a 50+ and passing your audit and assurance exam. Well, on that bombshell as always, see you next time. Cheers.